She didn't attack. She didn't growl. She stood in the middle of the snow-covered trail, breathing hard, her fur thick with ice. Daniel raised his rifle out of instinct. A full-grown she-wolf, strong, wild. But something was wrong. She took 2 steps forward and collapsed. She tried to stand again. Then she looked straight at him. There was no threat in her eyes, only desperation. Behind her, high on the slope, fresh snow had buried the entrance of a den. And from somewhere beneath the packed ice came a faint sound. Puppies. Daniel wasn't prepared for this. And in that frozen silence, he had to decide, walk away or trust a wild predator that was asking for help. Daniel Harper had worked as a park ranger in Jasper National Park for nearly a decade. He knew wolves. He knew the rules. Distance was safety. Interference was forbidden. That winter had been harsher than usual. Temperatures below -20 degrees Celsius. Heavy snowfall. Unstable mountain slopes. He was patrolling a remote trail when he saw her. The law was clear. Let nature take its course. But this didn't feel natural. There was urgency in her breathing, and maybe not much time left. Daniel approached slowly. The she-wolf didn't retreat. That alone was unusual. She was limping. Her back leg injured, likely caught in the small avalanche. She turned her head toward the buried slope, then back at him. The faint cry came again. Soft, weak. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Pups trapped under snow. He should call for backup. But there was no signal. And the cold wouldn't wait. He dropped his backpack. The she-wolf stepped aside, as if making room. The snow was heavy and compact. Daniel began digging with his hands, then with the small folding shovel from his kit. Every minute felt too long. The she-wolf watched, tense but silent. Suddenly a crack echoed above them. More snow shifted. Daniel froze. If the slope collapsed fully, he would be buried too. The crying grew weaker, almost gone. He dug faster. His fingers began losing feeling. The wind picked up, and daylight was fading. Finally, he opened a small gap. A wolf pup appeared, covered in frost, barely moving. He pulled the tiny body out carefully. Another faint sound came from inside. There was at least one more, but the snow structure was unstable. The she-wolf moved closer for the first time. Very close. Daniel could feel her breath beside him. There was no aggression, only urgency. He leaned into the opening again. Another crack, louder this time. The slope began to shift. Daniel grabbed the second pup and threw himself backward just as snow collapsed where he had been seconds earlier. Silence. 2 small bodies in his arms, alive. Daniel placed the pups on the snow. The she-wolf approached slowly. She began licking them quickly, stimulating them to breathe. One pup reacted. The other didn't. Seconds felt endless. Then, finally, a small movement. Both were alive. Daniel sat down in the snow, exhausted. He had ignored protocol. If something had gone wrong, it would have been on him. But none of that mattered now. The she-wolf picked up one pup gently, then the other. Before leaving, she stopped. She looked at him one more time, then disappeared between the trees. In the following days, Daniel returned to the area. The original den was completely buried, but he found tracks, three small prints, and one larger, moving together towards safer ground. He never told the full story in his official report. He simply wrote, "Natural snowslide, litter relocated." But something had changed inside him. He had always seen wolves as part of the landscape. That day, he saw something else. A mother who chose to trust, even if only for a few minutes. In the wild, trust between species is rare, especially in winter. But sometimes, when survival becomes more powerful than instinct, boundaries fade. Daniel never saw the she-wolf again, but every time he walks that trail, he remembers her eyes. Not fear, not aggression, but something quieter, a silent request. The certainty that, for one day in the snow, two very different species shared the same goal: to keep life breathing.